Today we're doing math pages 203, 204, 205, and 206. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose." Okay, we'll look at 203 at the top, class practice right away. The first thing they're asking us to do is write the factors for these different numbers. And we have 18 to start with. I always like to do the two easiest ones first, 1 and 18. Because you know 1's going to go into anything, and then the actual number. For example, where you're using 18, well, 18 will be one of them as well. Since it's an even number, we know 2 goes into it. Remember, anything that ends in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, 2 will go into it. Well, then we know 2 times something will go there. 2 times 9 is 18, so 9. And I also know that 3 and 6 goes into it. Let's go ahead and do C, since I have C on the screen here. I'll do those easy ones again, 1 and 12. This is an even number, so I know that 2 goes into it. 2 times 6 is 12. And I know that 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, E, the easy ones, 1 and 10. I know it's even, so 2 goes in it, 2 times 5. Alright, we'll do B, D, and F now. Alright, we have 1 and 15. And I know 3 times 5 is 15. D, 1 and 8. And 2 times 4 would be 8. F, I know that 1 and 6 goes into 6. And also 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, number 2, they're giving us 3 different numbers, and they're asking us to write the least common multiple for those numbers, the lowest number that they will all multiply into. So as we look at A, now we think to ourselves, our multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And then our multiples for 4 would be 4, 8, 12, 16. Multiples of 6 would be 6, 12. And there we have it. 12 is our lowest one that they all go into. Okay, so since D is on the screen there, we'll do D. What is 3, 5, and 15? What do they all go into? 15. All 3 of those will go into 15. B. What does 3, 4, and 5 all go into? This one would take a while to figure out, but they all go into 60. That's the lowest number they all go into. Even though that's a big number, that's the lowest one they all go into. And E, we have 4, 6, and 8. Well, 4, 6, and 8, they all go into 24. Okay, C, 2, 4, and 8, they all go into 8. And then F, 3, 9, and 12, 3, 9, and 12, they all go into 36. Okay, so for number 3, we're going to be working on divisibility rules, and they're going to give us some big numbers here. So the first one, A, it's asking the number 938. Does 4 go into it? And if so, we're going to put true in the blank. If it doesn't, then we're going to put false. Remember the rule for 4 is you look at the last two numbers, the 38. Does 48, does 4 go into just 38 evenly? It does not. 4 goes into 36 and 4 goes into 40, but it doesn't go into 38. So A is false. B, you're asking us, does 9 go into 126 evenly? Remember, the rule for 9 is you add up your numbers. So 1 plus 2 plus 6. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 6 is 9. And does 9 go into 9 evenly? Yes, it does. And so that one is true. C is 305 divisible by 2. The rule for 2 is it's got to end in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Does this number end in any of those? No, it doesn't. So this one is false. D, the number 800 is divisible by 10. Well, if a number is divisible by 10, it's got to end in 0. And this one does, so it is true. E, we're being asked, is 326 divisible by 3? Remember, that rule is similar to the 9 rule. We're going to add up our digits. 3 plus 2 plus 6. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 6 more is 11. So is 326 divisible by 3? No, because 3 does not go into 11 evenly. So that one is false. F, the number 255 is divisible by 5. Any number that ends in a 0 or a 5 is divisible by 5, so this one is true. And G, we got a giant number. It's asking if it's divisible by 9. We got to add up all our digits. 2 plus 0 is 0, plus 5 more is 7, plus 2 more is 9. Does 9 go into 9? Yes. So this is true. Okay, number 4. We're told to multiply these fractions, and we're going to be using our cancellation. So we look at 2 and 6. What goes into both 2 and 6? 2 does. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Alright, now we'll look at 5 and 5. What goes both 5 and 5? 5 does. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 5 once. And now we multiply. 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 times 3 equals 3. And our answer is 1/3. B, 4 and 15. Does anything go into 4 and 15 besides 1? No. 7 and 14. Does anything go into 7 and 14? Yes. 7 does. 7 goes into 7 one time. 7 goes into 14 two times. And now we can multiply across. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 15 is 15. Our answer is 8/15. 8/15. C, 3 and 3. 3 goes into both of those one time. 8 and 2. 2 goes into both of those. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 2 one time. Now let's multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Our answer is 1/4. D, nothing goes into 4 and 5 besides 1. And nothing goes into 9 and 2 besides 1. So all we're doing is multiplying across. 4 times 2 is 8. And 9 times 5 is 45. So our answer is 8/45. Alright, we're going to do some dividing here. 9 does not go into 4, but it does go into 43. Let's try 4 times. 4 times 9 is 36. Subtract, and you get 7. Bring down the 6. How many times does 9 go into 76? Well, 9 times 8 is 72, so let's try that. Subtract, you get 4. Bring down the 2. How many times does 9 go into 42? 9 times 4 is 36. Subtract, you get 6. Let's bring down the 9. How many times does 9 go into 69? 9 goes into 69 7 times. 9 times 7 is 63. Subtract, and you get 6 as a remainder. Let's go ahead and check it. 484 times 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 3 more is 75. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 7 more would be 42. 43. Oh, I realized where I messed up. You might have caught it already. I had the wrong number here, so I need to erase it. I'll start again. Okay, I need to write the whole number of 4, 8, 4, 7 times 9. Okay, we'll start again here. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 6 more, 42. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 4 more, 76. 9 times 4 is 36, plus the 7 more is 43. We need to add our remainder of 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. And since this number is the same as that number, since these two numbers match, then it checks and our answer is correct. 4,847, remainder 6. Okay, I'll have you do those ones on your own. Story problem on the back side. It says, while visiting sick church members at the hospital, Miss Fazo saw 3 newborn babies. They weighed 6.5 pounds, 9 1/3 pounds, and 7 3/4 pounds. How many pounds did they weigh in all? So in all, we've got to add these up. So we have 6.5, 9 1/3, and 7 3/4. Remember the rule, to add or subtract fractions, you must have common denominators. So we've got to figure out what 2, 3, and 4 all go into. What does 2, 3, and 4 all go into? Well, they all go into 12. So we're going to change our fractions with 12s on the bottom. Two times what is 12? 2 times 6. So we got to do 1 times 6. 3 times what is 12? 3 times 4. So we got to do 1 times 4. 4 times what is 12? 4 times 3. So we got to do 3 times 3. Now let's add these up. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 9 more is 19. Alright, 6 plus 9 is 15, plus 7 more would be 22. So we're almost done. We got to make our fraction proper. It's improper with the bigger number on top. So 12 goes into 19 one time. So I'm going to add that 1 to our 22. So 23 with how many left over? 7 over, and I keep the 12. 23 and 7/12 is our answer. B. Elizabeth was in charge of counting the votes for class president. Casey received 8/15 of the votes. His opponent Jason received the rest of the votes. What part of the votes did Jason receive, and who won the election? Well, we know Casey got 8 out of the 15. So you had 15 people voting. 8 of the votes went to Casey. Well, it's asking, well, how many didn't go to Casey? Well, you got to think 15 people of 8 voted for Casey. You take your 15 and you're to subtract the 8 that voted for Casey, and you have 7 voted for Jason. So the first part, what part of the votes did Jason receive? Jason received 7 votes. And then the second part of the question, who won the election? Well, Casey did by 1 vote. So I'm going to write Casey won. All right, let's look at the next page. It's telling us to read these story problems. Information necessary to solve the problems is missing. So write what must be known before each problem can be solved. So what's kind of nice is we don't have to solve these problems, but we got to say what is missing from the problem. So here in A, it says Russell bought some pencils for 18 cents each. What was the total cost of the pencils? Well, to be able to solve this, we got to know how many pencils did Russell buy. We know that they're 18 cents each, but we don't know how many pencils Russell bought. So what you need to write down is, how many pencils did Russell buy? So go ahead and write that. How many pencils did Russell buy? So you might be still writing that down. Go ahead and get that written down on your paper. How many pencils did Russell buy? And we'll go ahead and look at B. Rachel's grandmother lived to be XCI. So that's 91. Rachel's grandmother lived to be 91. How many years longer did her grandmother live than her grandfather? Well, we wouldn't be able to solve this problem because we don't know how many years Rachel's grandfather lived for. And so what I want you to write is, how many years did Rachel's grandfather live? 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 Okay, we'll look at C. C says Psalms has 150 chapters. So you guys should check that in your Bible. Psalms has 150 chapters. How many more chapters does Psalms have than Genesis? And so without looking in our Bibles, if we only looked at this question, we wouldn't be able to answer this because we don't know how many chapters does Genesis have. And that's what we're going to write down. How many chapters does Genesis have? How many chapters does Genesis have? Okay, D. Christy wants to make half of a cookie recipe. Christy wants to make half of a cookie recipe. How much sugar should she use? Well, we can't answer this because we don't know how much sugar does the recipe call for, and that's what we're going to write down. How much sugar does the recipe call for? How much sugar does the recipe call for? E says Blake ran the mile in 12 seconds, less than Dennis. How long did it take Blake to run 1 mile? Well, we can't answer this because we don't know how many seconds did it take Dennis to run the 1 mile. How many seconds did it take Dennis to run the 1 mile? How many seconds did it take Dennis to run the 1 mile? How many seconds did it take Dennis to run the 1 mile? Okay, F, you might still be writing the other one. F, Callie spelled 17 of the spelling words correctly. How many words did she miss? Well, if this was us, we know we do 20 words each week, and so we could tell you that she missed 3, but we don't know if that's the case for her class. So we don't know how many spelling words Callie had, so I want you to write, how many spelling words did Callie have? 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 And for the last one, it says, how much change did Mr. O'Toole get from the $5? Well, we don't know the question, how much money did Mr. O'Toole spend? And that's what we're going to put down. How much money did Mr. O'Toole spend? Okay, we're going to look at number 2. Number 2 is telling us to multiply these fractions, cancel if possible. So we'll first look at cross-canceling each one. Let's look at 2a. 2 and 5. Is there anything that goes into 2 and 5 besides 1? No. 4 and 4. Is there anything that goes into 4 and 4 besides 1? Yes, 4 does. 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 4 one time. Now we can multiply across. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 5 is 5. And our answer is 2/5. Since it's on the screen, we'll do D right now. Nothing goes into 1 and 4 besides 1, and nothing goes into 2 and 3 besides 1. So we're just going to multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 4 is 8, and our answer is 3/8. B. Nothing goes into 2 and 5, but 3 and 3, 3 does. 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 3 one time. Let's multiply across. 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 5 is 5, and we get 2/5. 2/5. E. 3 and 9. 3 goes into both of those. 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 9 3 times. Let's multiply across. 1 times 4 is 4. 5 times 3 is 15. And so we get 4/15. C. Nothing goes into 4 and 5 besides 1, and nothing goes into 7 and 2 besides 1, so we're multiplying straight across. 4 times 2 is 8, 7 times 5 is 35, and we get 8/35. Same thing here, nothing for 8 and 5, nothing for 9 and 2. So we'll multiply straight across. 8 times 2 is 16, 9 times 5 is 45, and our answer is 16/45. Go ahead and turn your paper over and look down at the bottom. We got all these different kind of questions here. It just tells us to follow the instructions. First one says to reduce 9/27. What goes into 9 and 27? 9 does. 9 goes into 9 one time, 9 goes into 27 3 times. So we get 1/3. B tells us to change 1 and 1/9 to an improper fraction. Remember, to change something into an improper fraction, we go 1 times the 9 plus the 1. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 1 more would be 10. So we get 10 and we move our denominator over 10/9. 10/9. Alright, now we're doing the opposite, changing 15/4 into a mixed number. So we see how many times does 4 go into 15? Goes in 3 times, with 3 left over. We'll have our 4 down here, so this 4 goes there. 3 3/4. Okay, subtract 1 minus 3/4. Since that has a denominator of 4, we're going to change our 1 into 4/4. Remember, any number over itself is the same as 1. So now with 4/4, we can take away 3/4. That gives us 1/4 for an answer. It says to write the factors of 12. What are the numbers that go into 12? Well, we know 1 and 12 do. We know that it's even, so we know that 2 does. 2 times what? 2 times 6 is 12. And 3 times 4 is also 12. So our factors for 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. F tells us to change 6 quarts into pints. Well, remember, there's 2 pints in every quart, so let's just do 6 times 2. 12 pints. G tells us to give three numbers that 430 are divisible by. Well, we know that it's even, so we know that 2 goes into it. We know that it ends in a 0, so that means 5 goes into it and 10 goes into it. So there's three numbers. Let's use those, 2, 5, and 10. And the last one we're going to do together here, it says to write the missing term. 4 times what equals 12? 4 times 3, so on the top we'll do 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So let's put our 9 in the blank here. And you guys go ahead and do the rest on your own because you are so smart.